Imagine crossing a border with nothing but the clothes on your back, only to find that the land of opportunity has prepared a cage with your name on it. A cage that doesn't just trap you, it profits from you. Because in America, every desperate migrant isn't just a political debate or a human tragedy, they're also a paycheck. And behind the fences, behind the razor wire, there's a billion-dollar industry quietly thriving, the migrant detention economy. This isn't about security, it's about business. Let's start with a number. Over 200 immigration detention centers spread across the United States. Some massive, some tucked away in small forgotten towns. Here's the kicker. The majority of them are not run by the government. They're run by private corporations, companies like CoreCivic and GEO Group. Their business model is simple. Fill the beds, get paid.
Why do you think CoreCivic sued you?
I think that the idea that it is okay to lock people up for profit is threatened by people like me. Policy or money are kind of the two main levers that we have to make change, and I just chose the path of money.
For every man, woman, or child locked behind those walls, the U.S. government cuts a check. The average rate? Anywhere between $120 and $300 per detainee, per night. That means a family fleeing violence isn't just detained, they're transformed into recurring revenue. Let's break it down like a ledger, because that's exactly how these companies see it. 1,000 migrants in a single facility, $150 a night per detainee. That's $150,000 a day. Over a month, $4.5 million. Over a year, more than $50 million. And that's just one detention center. Now imagine scaling that across dozens of facilities with tens of thousands of people. It's not just a government program, it's one of the most lucrative human supply chains on U.S. soil. So how did cages turn into corporate cash cows? The answer lies in the 1990s. Politicians began pushing for harsher immigration enforcement, more raids, more deportations, more detentions. But building and operating centers was expensive. Enter the private prison industry. Companies like GEO Group saw an opportunity. They'd build the centers, they'd run them, and the government would pay the bill. And the contract terms? Deliciously corrupt. Many deals included bed guarantees. That means even if there weren't enough migrants to fill the facility, taxpayers still had to pay for empty beds. Imagine running a hotel where guests didn't want to be there, and the government guaranteed you'd still get paid whether the rooms were full or not. That's not mismanagement. That's legalized extortion.
At the camera, or?
About 2/3 of GEO Group's revenue comes from federal and state corrections and detention contracts. ICE contracts make up a fifth.
Our business changed over the years. In 2003, the chairman and CEO, the founder of the company, George Zoli, had a directive at that time to expand the company into other service lines, diversify, if you will, and to own and operate more of the facilities. So that process started in about 2003. We were about $500 million in revenue. Today we're about $2.5 billion in revenue.
But the rabbit hole goes deeper. Because some small towns across America actually depend on detention centers for survival. Take places in Texas or Louisiana. Once the oil jobs dried up or factories closed, detention centers became the biggest employers. Guards, maintenance staff, cafeteria workers, entire communities now live off migrant incarceration. Local leaders lobby for more contracts. Politicians campaign on promises of building more centers. And towns become addicted to cages, the way coal towns were once addicted to mines. The migrants are no longer seen as people. They're inventory. They're the raw material of a dark economy. And what do detainees actually get for the hundreds of dollars a day that corporations collect in their name? The answer, almost nothing. Reports describe overcrowded rooms, inadequate medical care, spoiled food, and children sleeping under aluminum blankets. Some detainees are forced to work for as little as $1 a day doing laundry, cleaning bathrooms, or cooking food for other detainees. Yes, you heard that right. Detention centers profit off migrants twice. Once when the government pays for their bed, and again when they're forced into near-slave labor inside. Now, here's where it turns even darker. These corporations don't just sit back and collect checks, they actively shape immigration policy. How? By lobbying. GEO Group and CoreCivic have poured millions of dollars into political campaigns. They donate to lawmakers who push for stricter immigration laws, longer detentions, and more funding for enforcement. It's a feedback loop. The more laws that criminalize migration, the more people get detained, the more money flows into corporate pockets, the more lobbying dollars are available to influence the next law. This isn't justice. This is capitalism feeding on desperation. Let's put it into perspective. In 2019, before the pandemic, over 500,000 migrants were detained in U.S. facilities. That year, GEO Group alone made $2.5 billion in revenue. CoreCivic wasn't far behind, raking in billions more. And remember, these aren't prisons for convicted criminals. Many detainees are asylum seekers, families, or children, people who haven't broken any law besides crossing a border without papers. They're not serving time for crimes. They're serving time for someone else's balance sheet. Behind every number is a story. A mother separated from her child, a father locked up for months with no trial, a teenager who thought he was escaping danger, only to find himself behind another set of bars. There are suicides. There are deaths from untreated medical issues. There are children who will carry the trauma for the rest of their lives. And yet, none of this slows the machine. Because in America, pain isn't always a tragedy. Sometimes it's an opportunity. Have you seen my video about how the Black Lives Matter profit from our pain? Or the other one that talks about the price of our pills? It's insane. To be fair, activists, journalists, and human rights lawyers have been fighting to shine a light on this system. There have been lawsuits, hunger strikes, and protests outside detention centers. Some politicians have called for ending private contracts. In 2021, the Biden administration announced it would phase out private prisons for federal inmates. But conveniently, that didn't apply to immigration detention. Why? Because dismantling this economy would be political suicide in towns that rely on detention centers to survive. And corporations know it. The dark economy of migrant detention isn't just about America. Around the world, wealthy countries are outsourcing their border policies to private companies. From Europe to Australia, migrants are locked away in facilities where suffering equals profit. It's a global trend. Turn migration into a market and watch desperation become dividends. So the next time you hear politicians yelling about illegal immigrants, remember, the real story isn't just about borders or laws. It's about money. Because behind the fences, someone is getting rich. And in the land of the free, there's nothing more American than turning a human crisis into a business opportunity.